In the early 1980s, rock and roll was changing. The raw power of the 70s was being smoothed over by the neon sheen of new wave. And for a band like Blue Öyster Cult, the stakes couldn't have been higher. They were the thinking man's metal band, a group that traded in occult mysteries, extraterrestrial conspiracies, and dark literary lyricism. But after 2 albums with disappointing sales, critics were starting to wonder if the flame was finally flickering out. Then came 1981. The band retreated to the studio with legendary producer Martin Birch to create what would become their highest charting studio album, a record that blended their signature mystery with a sleek, modern edge. It gave us one of the most iconic radio hits of the decade, a band on MTV music video involving resurrected movie stars, and a deep connection to the cult classic film Heavy Metal. This is the story of Fire of Unknown Origin. The album that proved Blue Öyster Cult was far from extinguished. I want to talk a little bit about my personal connection to this album. Here it is, by the way, I forgot to take it out. Because back in 1981, I wasn't a big fan of Blue Öyster Cult. I knew about them, I knew the singles, I watched the music video for Burning for You, and I probably listened to it on the radio, but I didn't really get into Blue Öyster Cult until a few years later. And now that I've listened to all the albums, I would say this album here is either my number one or definitely sits in the top 3. I think it's a top tier Blue Öyster Cult album, not just for the song Burning for You. I think that's not even their best song. I think there's a lot of great deep cuts. I like the title track, Veterans of Psychic Wars, and I'll be talking about all that in this video. I want to talk about that quickly, and now I'm going to get back to the whole story with this album here. So Blue Öyster Cult was embracing the mythical cult status among hard rock fans. The band consisted of the classic lineup of Eric Bloom, Donald Buck Dharma Roaster, Alan Lanier, Joe Bouchard, and Alan Bouchard. They found themselves at a pivotal moment. Their commercial standing had taken a hit after the albums Mirrors and Cultosaurus Erectus. Those 2 albums failed to reach the massive success of their bigger albums like Agents of Fortune from 1976. But in order to kind of turn things around, they brought in Martin Birch. And he's the guy, he worked with Deep Purple and Iron Maiden. He helped the band pivot. He incorporated more synthesizers and new wave elements, and he made their sound more theatrical and just bigger and more grandiose. His goal was a fuller sound and something that captured the power they felt on stage but hadn't always translated to their recent studio recordings. The album opens with the title track Fire of Unknown Origin, a song with a long and winding history. Longtime fans might know the track was actually considered for their 4th album years earlier, but it was cut. The version we hear on the 1981 record is a pure 80s funk pop rock hybrid. It was co-written by the godmother of punk herself, Patti Smith. Now we know Patti Smith, she was working with the bands for a long time. She was a fixture of the New York Underground. She co-wrote several of the band's most memorable lyrics. In Fire of Unknown Origin, her influence is very intense. The song has this rhythmic groove, it has lots of hi-hat, there's great drums by Albert Bouchard. It sets the tone for the album. The record that was accessible enough for the charts, but still possessed the strange, otherworldly DNA that defined the band. Now after this was the big hit Burning for You, and this really launched them into the top 30. The song was written by lead guitarist Buck Dharma and lyrics by rock critic Richard Meltzler, and the song almost didn't end up on a Blue Öyster Cult album at all. Buck Dharma originally wanted the song to be for his solo album called Flat Out, but he was actually convinced that the band needed it. The song was a masterpiece of 80s production. It has layered, flanged out guitars and a smooth vocal performance from Buck Dharma. It became the band's last top 40 hit and a staple of early MTV, thanks to a video filmed in the storm drains of Los Angeles, which happened to be the same location used in that classic giant ant movie called Them. The band even brought in Hollywood pyrotechnics expert to burn a part of a car for the shoot, capturing a visual that felt perfectly very Hollywood and cool for the burgeoning music video era. One of the most fascinating what-ifs in rock history surrounds Blue Öyster Cult's involvement with the 1981 animated film Heavy Metal. The band intended for nearly the entire album to serve as the film's soundtrack. Albert Bouchard even recalled seeing pencil sketch storyboards for the whole movie while it worked. Songs like Vengeance, The Pact were written specifically to follow the plot of the Tarna segment of the film. Hollywood politics intervened. Filmmakers only wanted two songs, Burning for You and Veteran of the Psychic Wars. In a moment of defiance, the band refused to give up the hit single Burning for You unless the film took more of the tracks. The producers walked away and they did some negotiation, and in the end, only Veteran of Psychic Wars, which was ironically not originally written for the film, that made the cut. The song was co-written by British science fiction author Michael Moorcock, as I mentioned with others with the Cult Sorcery Records album. But the song Veteran became a moody mini epic. It blended art rock and new wave, has this tribal drum beat and synth patterns. It's one of the most haunting tracks in the band's catalog. It captures this amorphous core of the heavy metal aesthetic better than any other song on the soundtrack. And even the band Metallica, they have a pretty cool acoustic cover of the song that you should check out as well.
It's time we had a break from it.
But there was another song on MTV. Burning for You was the big hit, but the band released a second video and it proved much more controversial. It's called Joan Crawford. The song itself was absurdist, apocalyptic vision of the movie star rising from the dead to seek revenge on her daughter Christina, which is kind of a reference to the Mommy Dearest movie that came out around that time. The music video was a different story. It featured Catholic schoolgirls turning to vampires, and it was kind of suggestive, and the video was deemed too racy for the newly launched MTV. MTV didn't want to play it, and they thought it would get them kicked off cable systems, but despite the ban, the song became a cult favorite. It was noted for its phenomenal opening contra piano section and choppy rock groove. The album Fire of Unknown Origin was a massive success. It reached number 24 on the Billboard 200 and achieved gold status within a year. Behind the scenes, the fire was taking its toll. It would be the final studio album with the band's original lineup. During the subsequent tour, the band made the world-shaking decision to fire original drummer and key songwriter Albert Bouchard. Bouchard's departure marked the end of the Black and Blue era and left the band's most ambitious project, the Imagino saga, in a state of limbo for years. Originally conceived by the manager and six-member Sandy Pearlman, Imaginos was meant to be a sprawling 20th century epic connecting war, plague, and extraterrestrials. While songs from the saga have been teased over various albums, including Blue Öyster Cult and Astronomy, it wouldn't be until 1988 that an Imaginos album was released, and decades more before Bouchard would revisit it to finish the trilogy he promised to the dying Pearlman. Today, Fire of Unknown Origin stands the high watermark for Blue Öyster Cult. It's a perfect snapshot of a band that knew how to evolve without losing its soul. It's a collection of quality jams that avoids pretense, staying focused on theatrical non-stop rock, from the jazzy bass lines of The Closer, Don't Turn Your Back, to the heavier anthems like Heavy Metal, The Black and Silver, the album is a testament to the diverse talents of the Bouchard brothers, Bloom, Lanier, and Rosser. It's an album that reminds us that Blue Öyster Cult was always more than just a hit machine. They were world builders, storytellers, and architects of a specific kind of dark intellectual heavy metal that has never truly been replicated. And if you want to check out the story of their previous album, Cult Sorcery Records, should be appearing on the screen right now. Thanks for watching. Please like the video. It helps me with the YouTube algorithm. Please subscribe if you're not already. I do rock and metal reviews, rankings, and more. And I'll see you in the next one.